You're watching Football Daily and this is our 11 of footballers with crazy hobbies. Goalkeeper, Manuel Almunia. Arsenal have always had a reputation for signing cultured players, and Manuel Almunia, who spent 8 years at the club between 2004 and 2012, was no exception. The Spaniard joined from Celta Vigo and was excited at the prospect of playing European football with the Gunners, but not for the reason you might expect. The Spaniard was in fact a European history buff, with a particular interest in World War II, which started after he saw Saving Private Ryan. And when Arsenal travelled around the continent for Champions League fixtures, Almunia would check out local history sites. Wherever you go in the Champions League, there are connections with World War II, he said. I remember us being in Munich a few years ago. The place where we were staying seemed quite old, and I asked about its history. That hotel turned out to be a base for American officers when they occupied Germany. Perhaps Almunia's interest in the war was inevitable. His brother is a soldier who was part of the UN forces deployed in Kosovo in the late 90s. Unfortunately, Manuel turned out to be a rather less safe pair of hands, getting sold to Watford after an erratic spell under Arsene Wenger before eventually retiring in 2014. Defender, Michel Salgado. Given the level of fitness required to play the modern game, we should be less surprised that so many footballers go on to be successes in other sports. Vicente Lizarazu became a professional fighter in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Gabriel Batistuta played polo, and Real Madrid legend Michel Salgado took up surfing. The right-back joined Real for €11 million in 1999 and spent 10 years in Madrid, only being displaced from the starting lineup at 31 when Sergio Ramos joined from Sevilla. He played nearly 400 times for the club, that's more than Ferenc Puskás and Fernando Redondo, and won 4 league titles and 2 Champions Leagues. Strangely, despite coming from the coast in Galicia, Salgado only discovered his enthusiasm for surfing while in Madrid, around 200 miles from the sea. You can be swimming for 2 hours and only get on the board once in a tiny bit of surf, not even a wave, but the day you manage it, the feeling is fantastic and you're hooked for life, Salgado said. In fact, his love for the sport became so great, he said he would have considered a career in surfing instead of football if he got into it earlier. He's still playing ball though, now for Antigua in the Guatemalan League, where he has won a further 3 titles. Defender, Paul Scharner. Austrian utility man, is there any other kind of Austrian? Paul Scharner played in defence and midfield for Wigan and West Brom, helping the Latics win the FA Cup in 2013. He also won a title in his homeland at Austria Vienna, where he played under current Germany manager Joachim Löw, and even earned 40 caps for the country, becoming known for his frequent and bizarre hair changes. A genuinely sophisticated man who said his favourite pre-match music was Mozart, Scharner must have found life in Wigan difficult to adjust to, but he was never one to shirk a challenge. During the summer break, he would often take up extreme sports holidays, going skydiving and bungee jumping off a bridge to toughen himself up mentally for the season ahead. Despite the dangerous hobby, he rarely got injured, missing just 13 games to injury over the last 5 years of his career. Also a keen student, Scharner studied electrical engineering whilst an academy player and is also a talented musician, learning the flute, the drums and the piano while competing in the Premier League. It's actually hard to believe he became a footballer in the first place. Defender, Daniel Agger. A simple look at Daniel Agger is enough to tell you what his hobby is. The Dane, who played more than 200 times for Liverpool between 2006 and 2014 and won the Superliga with Brøndby, is covered in tattoos and is actually a qualified tattoo artist himself. Agger's body art collection started when he was just 15 during a school trip and now includes the names of his brother, sister, children, wife and parents, Latin and Danish proverbs and images of Vikings and Danish folk legend Holger Dankster. In 2012, he was linked with a move away from Anfield. Amid interest from Barcelona and Man City, he got "You'll Never Walk Alone" inked on his knuckles to prove his loyalty, and he has since added the famous Liver Bird. In Agger's final season with Liverpool, when the club was competing for the title in 2014, the defender claimed that if he had won a title, he would tattoo every member of the squad for free. Sadly, the last few years of his career were marred by fitness issues, as the overuse of anti-inflammatory drugs to treat a prolapsed disc in his back left him in chronic pain. He eventually retired in 2016. Defender, Moritz Volz. A German who had completed his football education at Arsenal's academy, Volz spent the majority of his career at Fulham, where he became something of a cult hero. Though he scored just 7 goals in the course of a 12-year career, one of them was the 15,000th in the Premier League, inevitably earning him the nickname 15,000 Volts. Always unconventional, Volz refused to buy an expensive car, instead getting around London by bike or in his VW Golf. And he liked to keep morale up amongst his teammates by bringing cakes to training the day before matches. When we played big clubs like Arsenal or Man United, I made a biscuit-based cake with bananas and a dusting of green tea. If we were playing against more rugged teams like Blackburn Rovers, I would make something a lot heavier, like a carrot cake with nuts. While playing, Volz was determined to better himself off the field, studying for A-levels in maths, French and biology, and after retiring in 2013, he eventually went on to write for The Times. He has since become Arsenal's chief scout in his native Germany. Midfielder, Nobby Solano. Appearing in an FD video for the first time, correct us if that's wrong, Nobby Solano was the first Peruvian to play in the Premier League and one of only 5 so far. He won 95 caps for his country and played for Boca Juniors before moving to Newcastle in 1998, where he made more than 300 appearances in 2 spells. Now retired and in his mid-40s, Solano has returned to a love of his childhood, playing trumpet in a salsa band. He started learning the instrument when he was in school, almost by accident, saying, "Initially I wanted to play the saxophone, but they only had a trumpet, so I played that instead, and now I seem to be stuck with it." He also used to use his musical talents to prank Magpies boss Bobby Robson, once leaving the gaffer an ear-splitting voicemail message after he was left out of a matchday squad. When Solano joined Aston Villa, he eventually duetted with Dion Dublin, who played the sax, but things could have turned out very differently. On arriving in the UK, he tried to take up a more traditional footballer pastime of golf, but couldn't get on board with it, saying, "I've tried to play, but the technique is too tricky and the weather in England is way too cold." Midfielder, Joe Allen. Stoke midfielder Joe Allen is an animal lover, but has a slightly unusual taste in pets. The Welshman and his wife Lacey keep chickens, adopting them from egg companies after their laying days are over. And since Lacey gave the player a cockerel for his 24th birthday, they have since amassed a flock of 14 with 12 hens and 2 roosters. Allen's high-profile job has actually seen him celebrated in the surprisingly active chicken rearing community, and in 2016 his hobby saw him land the prestigious front cover of Chicken and Egg magazine. In an interview which we recommend you read yourself, Allen discussed cleaning the coops, his favourite egg dishes, and listed the names of his chickens, including such highlights as Silky Steve, Nugget and Chickalata. It's all pretty wholesome and perhaps appropriate that the man once jokingly nicknamed the Welsh Pirlo enjoys a countryside activity, just like Andrea, who runs a vineyard in his native Italy. Midfielder, David Beckham. The list of David Beckham's interests outside of football is almost as long as the list of his achievements in the game. The former England captain supports UNICEF, has appeared in films, is enthusiastic about fashion, has his own whiskey, and is soon to launch a new football club in Miami as part of a deal he agreed when he moved to LA Galaxy in 2007. Frankly, Los Angeles suits Golden Balls better than Manchester ever did, and he has found a typically glamorous way to stay fit after retirement. According to Will Smith, he, Beckham and Tom Cruise regularly get together to practice their fencing at Cruise's house. "Tom has a room for training," said Smith. "We don't get enough time for hanging out, just us 3 guys, so this is his way of getting together and bonding. It's a lot of fun." To be honest though, when we heard Beckham, Smith and Cruise sword fight, we were expecting something a bit more scandalous. Disappointing. Forward, Michael Owen. Just like his old boss Sir Alex Ferguson, former England striker Michael Owen devoted his time and money off the field to breeding racehorses. Brown Panther, his best horse, ran at Royal Ascot, winning the King George V Stakes in 2011 and picking up over £1 million in prize money after coming first in 11 of his 28 races. Unfortunately, Brown Panther broke his leg in 2015 and had to be put to sleep, with Owen describing the event as the saddest day of my life. But the Ballon d'Or winner's love of racing didn't stop there. Standing just 5'8", he fancied his prospects as a jockey and rode a charity event at Ascot in 2017. He lost a stone during months of training, something he had been forbidden to do during his football career due to a fear of injury. Newcastle also prevented Owen from learning to pilot a helicopter because the insurance was too expensive. But the real tragedy is that none of his interesting hobbies translated into his commentary work with BT Sport. Instead, he saved his best work for the Dubai Tourism Board. Let's have a little bit of that, VT.
and this is no ordinary chopper. It's got special powers, and once we're airborne, you'll see just what I mean.
Now, let's go see where I own my apartments. My favourite place, Dubai Sports City. I'm throwing on the afterburners, so hold on.
Forward, Dimitar Berbatov. Known for his cultured feet, Bulgarian forward Dimitar Berbatov has plenty of artistic ability in his hands too. The striker, who won the league twice with Man United and was twice included in the Premier League Team of the Year, drew plaudits for his brilliant touch and vision, unusually finishing the 2008-09 season as the division's top assister despite playing up front. In his spare time, Berbatov is a keen artist and likes to draw caricatures of celebrities. On his Facebook, the Kerala Blasters man has posted his illustrations of Tupac, Marlon Brando in The Godfather and Bruce Willis, and they're actually bloody good. But he isn't the only player to fancy a second career in the arts. Eric Cantona has also dabbled in painting and photography, whilst former Sunderland and Wolves defender Jody Craddock has had his work shown across the UK and has produced art for the Wanderers Matchday programme. Meanwhile, Steve Bruce has published 3 crime thriller novels featuring a football manager suspiciously called Steve Barnes. Forward, Cristiano Ronaldo. When he first arrived at Man United, Cristiano Ronaldo knew he had to learn English quickly so he could communicate with his teammates, and with typical Ronaldo work rate, he attacked the problem head on. He began lessons with his new club and discovered an unexpected passion when he was given a DVD version of Bingo, which he credits with helping him learn English numbers. It can be very exciting because you can be there waiting for a long time for just one number to make the game complete, he said in 2008, accurately describing the way Bingo works. Well done, Cristiano, if making it sound more fun than it actually is. He ended up playing online too, where the chat function enabled him to learn words and phrases. This need to fill out the numbers must have made it particularly satisfying in 2014 when he scored in the 7th minute of a 2-0 win against Atletico Madrid, in the process of becoming the first player to score in every single minute of a football match. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has since equalled the achievement.
So I hope you guys liked that video. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed that, why not check out the video on screen right now? I'm sure it is great. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.